It's time to take your business to the next level, the boss level. These are the premier business owner strategies and successes being utilized by the industry's top talent today. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss. Now let's welcome your host, Ann Ganguzza.
Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguzza, and I am here with my lovely, amazing special guest co-host, Miss Keisha Monk. Hey Keisha.
Hola, señorita and senores out there. How's it going?
Keisha, I am so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, as always. Nothing but excitement happens whenever we get together.
So true. But I really just love the fresh perspective that you bring to things. And so I know this past week you've been involved in a panel or two on Clubhouse about how to get into voiceover. And I'll tell you what, I get the question so many times. How do I get into voiceover? And there's lots of wonderful resources out there on how to do that. But I thought, well, why don't we give our version of how do we get into voiceover and what things we think are important when first starting out and how you can truly get into this industry with a mind towards success.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's dive in, baby.
Well, let's start with, first of all, there's so many people since the pandemic that have come to me and want to get into voiceover because obviously they heard, oh, I can do this from home. I'm an actor, or I don't know. People have always told me, obviously people always tell me I have a great voice. And that is one of the first foremost things that people come to us with. And what is your response to that, Keisha?
You have to come to grips with what this is all about. Voiceover has nothing to do with your voice.
Yes. Wait, let's just say that again. Yeah, I'm in 100%, 1,000% agreement that it really has nothing to do with your voice. But go on and explain, Keisha.
It really has everything to do with your ability to interpret copy, script, words, bringing them to life, breathing life into the words, making them more colorful, being more connectable. It's acting.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
And I think it's really connecting with your audience, which, acting is, right? We connect with our audience on a level that touches them, that engages them, that sparks an emotion.
Right, exactly. And therefore, keeping that in mind, don't think that you can just go to Best Buy and get a laptop and a USB mic and go into a coat closet and all the magic happens. No, it takes a lot more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I always tell people, and I say this over, you probably heard this in multiple podcasts from me, but I always tell people, look, why do you expect to be able to be a professional voiceover artist with only a few sessions and a demo that you might produce after a weekend, or maybe a few sessions of coaching, even if it's like 4 sessions or 6 sessions? I still say, how many hours total have you spent practicing, loving, honing the craft of voiceover before you've made a demo, and then there you are presenting that demo as if I'm a professional now. It takes time. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely do. I'll give you a parallel. So I love food, right?
So do I.
Right. I mean, just go to my Facebook page and look at my pictures. You can tell that I love food, right? So I love food. I'm kind of, fascinated with it. I love the way that it tantalizes my taste buds and all that kind of stuff. But tomorrow I can't just wake up and say, you know what, I love food. I think I'll open a restaurant. I'll just buy a bunch of equipment, just open up a store and hope people will come. No.
I'm a chef.
You got to do a little bit more. Yeah, it takes a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
And, I'm saying all that to say, and not to be harsh, but unfortunately, again, I guess it's attractive, especially when, folks like me get on, social media and say, hey, everybody, I'm the voice of God for Soul Train
Right.
Awards. And, people are attracted to that. And like, wow, like, how do you do that? So forth and so on. It just takes a little bit more than that. And I'm really looking forward to delving into, the whole science of voiceover. It takes more than a laptop and a mic.
It sure does. And it takes more than, well, obviously it just can't be about a quick fix or a quick solution to, oh, I want to work from home. That is something that, there really has to be, because this is something that we, I think all of us as actors need to be passionate about. I mean, you need to have a love for your craft in order for that to shine through and to really affect people. And if you're just doing it for a quick dollar, if you think you're doing it for a quick dollar, that's a big misconception.
Right.
And it really, I know people who actually, before they've even spoken to me to find out about voiceover, they've gone and they've bought a microphone already. And they've looked at a couple of YouTube videos and they set up their home studio. And not a lot of times does that home studio work.
Not only that, yeah, I mean, and then you go on Fiverr.com and you see all of these people that are offering the service for, $5 and $10, and and then you have the voiceover vultures, the folks who are on social media. Oh, all you got to do is just give me $2,500. I get it, but it's a lot more than that. It's so much more than that. Like you said, it really takes, you really got to love, the craft and the science of voiceover to be successful in it.
Absolutely.
And when like you said, I've been making my rounds on social media speaking about voiceover. And I kind of, I have to be honest with you, Anna, I guess I can tell you this because we're buddies. I feel almost as though people might think I'm kind of crazy because I tell the story of how, I watch television a lot, not for TV, but for the commercials. Yep. And also, like, I'll sleep with my television on and, in the middle of the night if I'm like in a hot, this is the truth. So, and I told this story and I felt weird afterwards because I'm like, oh my God, these people think I'm crazy.
Wait, I got to back up just a little bit, but you listen, see, I fall asleep with the TV on all the time, but is that so you can absorb the commercials?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
and what happens, Anne, and this is, I'm being honest, what sometimes happens if, I'm kind of like in that twilight, and a commercial comes on and it tantalizes my earbuds, I'll sit straight up in the bed like, oh my God, who was that? Mm-hmm. I'll go to iSpot.tv and I'll try to figure out who was the actor, and I'll go to their website, and I'm just like kind of fascinated with the whole science of it all. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are just more or less attracted to the fact that, I can work from home. It may be a lucrative career for me. All I need is a mic and a laptop. And that ain't it.
And absolutely. And another thing that just for whatever reason that just brings to mind as you're talking about listening to commercials, there's also a misconception out there that you have to start with a commercial demo, or commercials are really the only type of voiceover there is. And it's amazing when I tell people that commercial voiceover is only a small percentage of the overall work that's out there and available for talent.
Absolutely.
It is some people that are gravitate as that being their genre, then yeah, of course that's going to be the majority of their work. But then you get somebody like me who I have the majority of my work being e-learning, corporate narration, medical narration, on that side of things, which is, when I talk to people about that, they're like, oh, but yet they might have been, led into thinking that they have to do commercials, or they want to, of course, most people, they either can do great impressions or they can do great characters. So everybody wants to get into animation. And then it's a big surprise when they find out that is also a smaller market. I mean, it's not that it's impossible to get into it, but it's a difficult market to get into. Just like doing promo work or live announce for you, that's a smaller market. And so having to educate people about all the different genres is also something where people are they need to be educated, I think.
Do you know, people don't even realize that Siri, and we all know Siri, that's voiceover. But people they don't realize it. I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing. It's just that there's it's just a mass. It's just a wealth. It's just so full. Like voiceover, everything is a voiceover in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the world is basically out there for the taking, but you have to be willing to open up your ears a little bit more and open up your eyes and your mind and understand what this is really, really all about. And it'll excite you when you start to realize the endless possibilities on how you can literally utilize your voice and impact a whole world,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's the beauty.
That's just how I view it.
That's the beauty of it, how you can change, you can really have an impact and change people's lives with voiceover. And I also think that it's not something that is just like, oh, okay, I have my demo, now I'm a voiceover artist. I think that you have to be a lifelong learner. I've always been a big proponent of, there's always stuff to learn out there. I think even voice talent that have been in the industry for years and they still, I think, need to be practicing their craft. They need to be coaching. They need to, get a fresh set of ears on what they're doing and see if they can, maybe, I don't know, but up their game with coaching. I don't think it's a one-shot deal. Like, okay, I've learned. As a matter of fact, I had somebody say to me, okay, well, let me just, maybe you can talk to me and I can find out if, you're teaching what I already know. And I'm like, oh, no.
It's not the way it works.
That's not there's no one set of rules for voiceover. It is an art. And I think that every coach and teacher can bring something different to the table and different to your craft that you can utilize to just, be able to connect with others and to really be a professional.
Absolutely, which is kind of a reason why I'm really grateful for your podcast because, realistically speaking, we are in a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And, that there's just a lot going on with people's lives and their finances. This podcast is such a it's invaluable, an education tool with regards to not just my episodes, but just, your channel as a whole is a great tool to really educate yourself about, the entire industry.
Well, thank you,
so
Keisha.
I'm really grateful for you.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you.
That's really, I thank you so much for that. And Keisha, of course, I mean, you're such a huge part of this. And I'm always looking for, I'm always looking to be able to hopefully, give back to the community and have more awareness about what this industry is all about and how it works. And it's an interesting thing. I think in any industry you have people that want to get into the industry, and there's a whole, I guess, level where we have to educate the people coming into the industry about what it's all about. And this is part of it.
And in all fairness, we make it look easy. Social media. Thank you, social media. We make it look easier. You know what I'm saying? We have our Instagram accounts and our Facebook and even our Twitter, and we're using, all these wonderful platforms to say, hey, look at me. This is what I do. I'll never forget, and I told this story a couple of days ago. I'm not sure if you've ever seen the movie The Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
With Will Smith.
Yep.
Do you remember the scene in the movie where he's walking down the street and he sees this beautiful Ferrari and he's like, I wonder who owns this Ferrari. And when the owner came up, he's like, listen, what do you do in order to get that car? And then he was actually willing to learn the trade. He had no experience in whatever the trade was. Was it stock market, the stock market? I don't know. Whatever it was, he just knew that he wanted to be there. But he went into it with an open mind. Well, I want to learn to do what you do. It's not just a matter of just getting a job, but totally educating himself, immersing himself within the business, sleeping in bathroom.
Yep.
Like he made all of those sacrifices because he visualized himself being in the seat of that Ferrari. Voiceover is the same identical thing. So I get it. If you're listening, I totally understand, because we do make it look easy and it's definitely a lot of fun. But as long as you are willing to roll up your sleeves, open up your mind, educate, and get coached, you too can be a voiceover actor.
You too. And I think that you have to be, again, as I was mentioning about the time spent in honing your craft and learning how to do, how to be a great voiceover artist. I think also the money is another thing that we need to kind of touch upon because, for any business, you're going to make an investment. There's always an initial investment when you go into business. And again, it's one of those things where we've made it sound easy, or there are people out there that might prey upon new talent saying, look how easy it is, look how much money you can make, and just, come get a demo with me. And that might be leading people on a little bit or leading people astray. There is an investment, I do believe, that you need to always, for any business, you need to take into account. It's not like you're going to just do this on the cheap. There's going to be a considerable amount of investment in your craft to begin with. And I've had other people estimate, I've seen up to like $10,000.
Yeah,
you know,
and
I would tend to agree with that, really, depending on your studio setup. And now our studio setups have to be so much better than they ever were. They have to be really rock solid so that we can deliver quality audio.
Right.
I just did a series of podcasts with Tim Tippett, and we were saying, you know what, you get what you pay for in terms of equipment. So I'm not saying everybody needs to go out and buy a $1,000 mic or a $3,000 mic, but you have to make an investment, and that includes the investment in your coaching, in your demos,
right.
and then also maintaining that. It's not like, oh, I got my demo, I'm done.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, if you are on the level of VoiceOver 101 or you're a beginner, I would definitely suggest investing in those learning tools first.
Yeah.
I know, I'll admit it. I used to just use a simple USB mic that was like under $100. It was really, when I first started, it was an inexpensive tool, but my sound was awesome. Like I had the perfect coat closet.
Yeah, well,
I really did.
I'm glad you said that, because it's amazing what you can do with a mic, and it can be a relatively low cost mic in a room that is treated properly.
Right. Exactly.
And so, bosses, if you want to know how to treat your room properly, we just did a series with Tim Tippett all about audio. So it's all about having Boss audio. So make sure you listen to those to find out what you can do to get yourself some great sound. And yeah, you can actually have a less expensive. I had a Rode NT1 that I used for years, and I made the majority of my money off of that for 6 years. And then it was, I want to say it took me almost 10 years before I got a 416. I don't know why it took me quite that long, but it took me a long time. Maybe it wasn't 10 years, but it took me a long time before I got my 416 and my TLM 103. But at that point, now I can appreciate the difference and understand the difference. And yet, when I was on my Rode NT1, I mean, I was still sending out great quality audio.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I want the younger generation of bosses to understand, that and when you're first starting out, Anne, I would definitely suggest, when it comes to making that financial investment, invest in good coaching first before you run out and get an expensive mic. Because realistically speaking, unless you're just an alien of some sort, you're not going to buy a mic and just start, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to buy a mic and you're just going to start getting work. I mean, if you're an alien, yeah, but if you're normal like us folks, that's not going to happen. So don't worry about that mic at first. At first, I think that what you'll probably be doing a lot of is practicing. So you don't need a $600 mic.
As Tim always says, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so investing in a good coach, in good coaching, you can educate yourself about the industry. It's not just going to be about your voice. And hopefully, if you've got a good coach, they're also educating you about the industry. And if you've got marketing questions, or I would want them to be able to guide you. I mean, that's probably one of the first things that I settle on with my students when we get together and we work is, what genre do they want to start working on? Because it does make a difference. Commercial is different from, medical narration, which is different from promo, which is different from live announce. They all have different audiences, and they're all voiced accordingly, differently.
And if you allow me to just sidebar for a second, if you're wondering how to find that perfect coach, I would always suggest hire a coach that's actually working.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. A coach who is actually a working voice actor can give you a much better perspective on how things work, as opposed to someone just saying, you're going to make $5,000 a day if you just give me $2,000 and you'll come out with a bright, shiny new demo. It's just horrible.
And I would say, though, the only exception to that, I mean, I'm completely in agreement with you there. The only exception would be unless you find a coach that works in casting or has been with an agency and has, because I know there's a couple of instructors out there that don't necessarily do voiceover themselves, but they're in casting, or they've worked for different talent agencies, and they're amazing coaches.
I get that too. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's just, I don't know.
Working experience counts for a lot too.
That's
really
exactly
does.
what I was going to say.
Especially when you're talking about relevance and being current in the industry, because trends evolve.
Right.
Voice trends evolve, the work trends evolve, the market evolves. And it's so important, guys. You can have the best voice in the world, but if there's no market out there to buy it, just saying.
Exactly.
Or if you're not relevant or current, they're not maybe going to buy it.
Right. Which means, again, I'll just revert back to my original point. Voiceover has nothing to do with your voice. It's about the will, the tenacity. You're willing to research your coachability, and a thorough understanding of truly how all of this works. I think that is so important. It has nothing to do with your voice.
And it's about, it's so true. And especially, and again, if I'm going to repeat exactly what you just said and maybe add some more to it by saying that, the industry is very subjective. Everybody has a beautiful voice in reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody connects in different ways with people. And I truly believe if you make it about the connection that you're going to have with your audience and not about your voice, then that's what they're hiring. They're hiring that. They're hiring that human part of you that connects with people, not necessarily the sound of your voice. Because the sound of your voice, whether it's beautiful or it's not so beautiful, if it's consistent and let's say not meaningful and there's no connection there, it becomes really, how shall I put it? It becomes really boring really quickly. You then become white noise, whether your voice is beautiful or not. You become white noise if you're not connecting with your audience. And that is so important. That's where the acting comes in.
Truly.
And also, again, you could have the best voice in the world, but if you don't know how to market it, you're not going to get hired. And that's the other, percentage of this. And if you're not brave in being an entrepreneur and being brave to go out there and get the job done, try things out, fail, learn from that, and then try it again, that's also a huge part of this industry.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Man,
Good
oh man.
stuff, Keisha. Thank you so much for that today. Bosses, I hope that you share that you got something out of this today, and if you know people that are interested in getting into voiceover, that you share this podcast with them. There's a lot of great resources out there for people who want to get into voiceover. I'd like this episode to be one of them as well. So
absolutely. And you do such a great job. I really truly do appreciate you. And wow, you're just dropping gems.
Oh, Keisha,
dropping
I love
gems.
You. I do. Oh gosh, big shout out to our sponsor IPDTL, so that Keisha and I can love on each other.
Yes.
And hopefully help you guys out in the process. Find out more at ipdtl.com. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your host, Ann Ganguza. And take your business to the next level. Sign up for our mailing list at voboss.com and receive exclusive content, industry revolutionizing tips and strategies, and new ways to rock your business like a boss. Redistribution with permission, coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.